Today I have 4 new Dollar Tree DIYs to share with you, and I am so excited because I am kicking off my Christmas crafts. Have you seen those stencils at Dollar Tree? I am in love with them, and today I am showing you how I am using a couple of them, and I cannot wait. But you are in for a treat because today's video is actually in collaboration with 5 other girls here on YouTube. And if you love Dollar Tree and you love Christmas, then this is like your jackpot. We have Kristen from KRISTIN Kay, Kat from According to Kat, Casey from Coffee with My Sunshine, Nicole from This Week's Nest, and Jessica from Measure and Mix. I am so excited to be able to collab with all these ladies. I'm going to leave a link for our entire playlist in the description box, as well as a link to all of their channels. When you go visit their video, make sure that you leave that Santa emoji so that they know that I sent you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I am so glad that you are here. If you enjoy Dollar Tree DIYs and budget decor, make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my future videos. And let's get on with some of these stencil projects.
To start off with, I'm using Santa Please Stop Here. Each one of the stencil packs actually comes with 2 different stencils, and you will see that I will be using both stencils to do this. I also have a red plastic plate, but you can use any plate. And again, I'm going to show you what I'm doing with the colors of paints that I'm using, but this is such a versatile project. So here I'm starting off with Waverly's chalk paint in white, and I taped down my stencil, and I actually covered up the stop because I'm only stenciling here with Santa. And as I go in, I'm going straight down so that I don't have any sort of bleeding or leaking underneath the stencil, so that I have pretty clean lines as I do it. Now, once I have the Santa on there, I do give it a little bit of time to set aside and dry before I go in with my Santa. And the Santa is actually on the second stencil that comes in that pack. And then I just stencil him right on. Now, I was a little bit rushed and I did not wait for this to dry before I went in with some Mod Podge. Now, the Mod Podge that I'm using actually is some dishwasher safe Mod Podge. I got it on Amazon. This, along with every supply that I use, will be listed below just for your convenience. Once I let the Mod Podge dry this time, I did go back over with the stencil again, and this time I let it set overnight. I left it alone. And once that dried, I went back in with Mod Podge one more time. And I love how this turned out. I think it's great. I think this would be perfect to fill up with some treats to give to some friends, and such an easy thing to do to not only give them treats, but now they have a little Santa plate to put their cookies on Christmas Eve. For the second project, I will be using Believe out of this pack of metal words. I will also be using the wooden arrow, and then again the Santa from this stencil. I will be using these stencils like crazy. Now, they are cardboard, so you cannot wash them, so you're just going to have paint upon paint, but that is okay. They can still be used multiple times. I'm using Waverly's chalk paint in white again, and I'm also going to be using Waverly's chalk paint in ink. It's just their black paint. So first I'm going to paint the arrow in the white. Make sure that it is completely dried, and once it is all dried, I now am going back in with the Santa stencil, and I am going to be stenciling it in with the ink, the black. So here I'm using a stenciling brush that I picked up at Dollar Tree. It's a little bit smaller than the one that I normally use that I grabbed. It's a Waverly brand that I grab at Walmart. It's not my favorite, but it gets the job done, and later on I actually find that I like it better on like a larger stencil that's not quite as detailed, and you'll see what I mean later on. So here I'm painting Believe in Waverly's chalk paint in crimson. It's such a beautiful red. My daughter was not sure what she was thinking when I was doing this. She thought I was a little bit crazy, but I love how this turned out. So don't be afraid to paint your words. While that is drying, I'm going in with Waverly's Wax and Antique to kind of give the sign a little bit of an age and distressed look. So I'm taking most of it around the edges. That's where I want the most product, the darkest edges. And I'm using, this is a brush, actually the 1-inch that comes from Dollar Tree. It's great for kind of like a dry brush look. And once I've done the edges, now I'm just kind of taking it into the center with whatever's left over and just distressing the rest of the sign. The last thing to do is adhere Believe to the sign, and I'm going to use the gel super glue. Again, I got this at Dollar Tree, so I just make sure I get that on all the high edges, and then I just place that on the sign. and the position that I want it, and I just press down and I make sure that I give that time to set up, and there you have it. I think this is so cute and something that you would find in a store. So for anyone that actually like sells your crafts, or maybe you're looking for a cute little Christmas gift to give, these are definitely some ideas that I think would do really well. For my third project, I have a couple of these ornament tags that I grabbed from Dollar Tree. They have a couple of different designs of these. It doesn't really matter which ones you have. You just need 2 of them. So I'm going to start off by sanding off the glitter just to make it smooth. And now I have a couple pieces of scrapbook paper. I love getting my scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby because I get it for $1. So I'm going to start off with some Mod Podge, and then I'm going to add that to my tags. I've already cut the paper down, so it's just slightly larger than the tags. So I brush on the Mod Podge and completely cover the tags, making sure that I carry all the way over to the edges, and then I just take the paper, I place it on to the tag, and then I smooth it out, making sure that I smooth all the way so that I don't get any of those like lumps, bumps, and wrinkles. And as you can see, I do have a little bit of paper still hanging off, and I'm quite okay with that. Once it completely dries, I actually use sandpaper to get the extra paper off. So here I'm using a 60 grit sandpaper and going around the edges in order to get that extra paper off. This is my favorite way. I got it from Megan from Glue Guns Roses, and I love this technique. It does such a great job. Now, you did see that my tags were painted. It wasn't necessary to paint them. I thought about doing something else and changed my mind. That happens. But as you can see here, the paper just starts peeling right off. I just go side to side in order to get it off, and if I ever want to, I will sand away from the paper, but I never sand towards the paper because that will peel it up. Now I am using Waverly's chalk paint and ink again, and I'm stamping Santa onto one of the tags. I actually chose to do it on the striped one because the other pattern was a little too busy to be doing this, and I'm only actually going to be stamping onto one of the tags. The other one is just more like an accent tag, and so that would be my one suggestion to you, is to pick a tag that has a little bit less busyness going on. Once I'm done stamping, I take whatever paint I have left over on my brush and I distress the edges of both of the tags just to kind of give them a little bit more depth on the edges. Now I have these stickers again from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be spelling out the word deer. I love to do it on a ruler because it just helps me to line it up. I think it would also be really cute if you can freehand, but if you've been around, you know I don't freehand. So here I just have something that's just kind of pokey. I'm just trying to get the holes back that I covered up with the paper earlier. So I'm just poking it through and just twisting it around so that I can find my holes. Luckily, you can see what it is that I'm doing. Once I've done that, I take a piece of twine and I just thread it through, but I'm not knotting it yet, and not until I have my tags in place. And in order to do that, I am going to go in with some hot glue just on the one edge. I flip it over, make sure I know where I want it. I press the 2 tags together, and then once I have them in place, I do go back and I knot my twine together and then just trim off the edge. I think this again is just so cute, and I am excited to make even more of these tags. So for my last project, I do have a piece of scrap wood that I'm using. This is actually some pallet wood that I had lying around in my garage, but of course you could always use a Dollar Tree sign and do something similar as well. I'm also going to be using another stencil that I haven't used yet today, the Season Greeting Stencil. I am so excited to show you. This is probably my favorite project. So to start off with, I have to fill in the holes on my sign because I had some nails in it and I didn't want those there. So I'm just taking some wood filler and filling those. And once it's all dry, I do go in with a fine grit sandpaper and just sand those down. After that, I go in with some Waverly chalk paint in white again, and I cover up the front of the board, but only the front of the board, and I'm pretty careful to keep it like that because after that, I go in with the Waverly's wax and antique, and I go around the edges trying to give it kind of a frame look. And again, you'll see me pull this out again later to kind of give it that distressed look, but for now I'm just framing it out. Once I gave the paint enough time to dry, and now I can have some fun, I'm going in with the 2 green paints that I happen to have on hand. This is Waverly's Chalk Paint and Moss, and Apple Barrel's Green and Arbor Green. It's just what I have. So I took both, combined them together to come up with a 3rd green color. So both of the different stencil packs that I'm using have a tree in them, and that is what I'm using, and that's why I'm going in with some green. Now the moss was a little bit light, so here you see that I went ahead and I added a little bit of that arbor green to it just to darken it up. So I happened to get a little bit of the green on the board, and that told me where I wanted my first tree to go. So this is what I told you, that Dollar Tree stencil brush works. It works really well on these trees. So when it's a larger, less detailed stencil, this brush is a good one. So I wanted my trees to be a little bit random. Now the only trick I have for this is to make sure that you are given time for your trees to dry in between so that you're not smudging and smearing your paint as you go. Other than that, you just have some fun with it. I went in between the 3 different colors. You see I'm adding and mixing colors some more just because I just wanted some different shades of green as I went. I didn't have any rhyme or reason to where I wanted my trees to be. I didn't want it to be a set pattern. You'll also see that I taped off all my trees, like the star and like the bottom of the tree, because the only thing that I wanted to use was actually the tree and the trunk itself. So here with the season greetings, I'm going to actually cut it apart because I'm lining it up. So don't be afraid to cut your stencils. I don't think it's a big deal. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm taping off again the parts that I don't need just to make things easier on me. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay it out and just start stenciling. After I finished stenciling season, I did give it enough time to dry before I went in with greetings. It doesn't look like it here in the editing, but I promise I did because I didn't want anything to get smudgy. And so with it being chalk paint, it does dry fast, but once it did dry, I went ahead and I stenciled on greetings, and I think this looks so great. Again, I'm using the Waverly's Chalk Paint in Crimson. When all the paint was dry, I went in with a 220 sandpaper and just did a really light sanding just to kind of smooth the edges and blend things in. After that, I went back in with Waverly's Wax and Antique and just gave it a little bit more distressing and aging look. Again, a little heavier on the edges, and then taking what was left over on the brush and bringing it towards the center, and sometimes adding a little extra heaviness here or there until I get the look that I'm going for. This sign is by far my favorite of all 4 of these projects. I absolutely just love it, but I want to hear from you. Do you have a favorite? If so, let me know that in the comments below. Also, don't forget, make sure that you check out the entire playlist and go check out everyone's videos so that you can be inspired and start your Christmas crafting as well. If you want to see more stencil projects from me and more Dollar Tree DIYs, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my future videos, and I'll catch you in the next one.